Wheel of Games!
Hi, I'm bigcal, and welcome to my world. It is the end of the month, which only means one thing: Wheel of Games. At the end of every one of these videos, I spin this lovely wheel here. Whatever it lands on, I then have to buy a game or something game related in that category, do something with it for the next month, and then make a video about it before spinning again. So when I spun at the end of last month's video, which was last year now, where has time gone? It landed on PlayStation games. So I had to get something for any of the PlayStation systems I own, which is now all of them. Yeah, so what I did is I went for a PlayStation 3 game for a change, and I picked up Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Ooh. Spooky. Released on multiple systems between 2013 and 2014, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures is a video game that is based on the animated series of the same name, that until now I had never heard of. The game takes place between the first two seasons of the show, I believe, and features characters and references to it throughout, all of which went over my head as I'd never seen it. Basically, Betrayus is the main villain, and he steals a freezing device for, I'm not really sure, I didn't get far enough into the game. More of that in a second. Pac-Man then sets out into the world to stop him, starting in Pacopolis, the home of Pac-Man and his friends. The game is a 3D platformer with lots of collectibles from the Pac-Man series, mainly power pellets, which I guess are this game's version of coins like in Mario. Then you have Slimetanium, which can grant you extra hit points once you've collected enough, Pac-Berry pies and other food items to restore health, coins that, well, I'm not really sure what they do either. And finally, at the end of each level is a piece of fruit, which is the main collectible, similar to stars, crystals, and jiggies. The levels themselves aren't overly big, with only a few places to explore, making it a more linear 3D platforming experience. You have access to a basic jump and double jump, and then you can attack enemies by jumping at them, gobbling them up just like you would in the original Pac-Man games. And if you get to an area with multiple ghosts, you can chain jump. No, not like that. Attacks together, which is very satisfying to do. While for the most part you can avoid enemies, eating them gains you their eyes, which, yes, is very creepy. And when you get a certain number of eyes, I think it's 50, you earn an extra life. So you do have some incentive to eat them. Everything, though, is, well, very basic and a little boring. To switch things up, you can gain power-ups that grant you new abilities, such as being able to freeze enemies, and water to create platforms, fire to melt enemies and objects, chameleon powers to turn invisible to avoid enemies, and a tongue to grab onto specific platformers, rock, which, it turns you into a giant ball of rock, and rubber, turning you into a bouncy ball. These were just the ones I encountered in the first two worlds of the game. They can change up the gameplay a little, but not really enough to excite me. And then, this happened. Yep, my PlayStation 3 hard drive needed to be formatted, and I lost all of my save files. Yay. So, I could have gone back and started the game from scratch and played it a bit longer, but I didn't want to. I was just kind of bored with the game. It wasn't that exciting. There was nothing keeping me wanting to continue playing. And it was getting towards the end of the month anyway. I kind of only got the game halfway through the month. And halfway through the month, a game got released that I was way more interested in playing through. It might involve some legendary heroes, and some sort of trail, Yeah, I'm sure I'll talk about that in a future video. But yeah, I was busy playing something else, then I finally got back to playing this, and I didn't have much time, and then the hard drive died, and I just didn't want to continue. But that wasn't the only game I picked up for this month's Wheel of Game, because I bought the sequel! Just a year later, we got a sequel, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 2. And for the most part, it is the same game. Only things feel a lot more polished to me this time around. Levels, while still linear, have way more areas to explore, and you now gain points for everything you collect in a level, which results in a score at the end. Depending on your score, you'll get a bronze, silver or gold medal. And the medals are the big main collectible, while 3 pieces of fruit are hidden around the levels for you to try and collect. I missed quite a few of them, so they aren't always right in your face in an obvious place, which is nice. What does kind of ruin it is the inability to backtrack a lot of the time. You just kind of have to guess which is the main route and which is the exploratory route, and hope for the best. If you end up taking the main route, odds are you'll end up being transported to a different area and you are unable to go back and explore the optional area. The game really wants you to replay levels, but I just couldn't be arsed. The same power-ups are back, but some of them have slight changes, such as the fire power-up giving you a glide jump this time around for some reason. I also got the chance to try out a new power-up, the metal ability. I'm pretty sure this is in the first game as well, I just didn't reach a point where I got to use it. Basically, Pac-Man turns to metal, and he can stick to magnetised platforms that let you walk upside down, etc. Yeah, it's nothing new or crazy for 3D platformers, but it does let levels have some new dimensions to them. And on top of all the power-ups, there are special stages that make use of Pac-Man's friends, and these usually end up being on-rail shooters. Yeah, they aren't anything special, but it does make a nice change every so often. Both games do have some issues with controls, which can be annoying at times, especially the chameleon power-up, as sometimes you press the button to use your tongue to attach to platforms, and Pac-Man just plummets to the ground instead. And when you chomp multiple enemies in a row, I found myself flying off the edge of a platform to my death far too often. You can control the direction of your chomp, but sometimes the game will just auto-lock onto an enemy you don't want to chomp, as they might be electrified at the time or something, and as a result, you take damage. Luckily, you do have multiple hit points, and you can recover health very, very easily. Overall, I'm not sure I can recommend the first game, as it's just honestly far too boring. The sequel seems to do everything the first game did, and more, and in a much better way. It has more power-ups, more gameplay styles, and more levels too. Sure, it isn't a standout 3D platformer, or even a standout Pac-Man game, but I do think there is fun to be had with the second game. Yeah, so Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 1 and 2. These are kind of forgotten Pac-Man games, really. When people think of 3D Pac-Man games, they often go to the Pac-Man World series, especially since the first two have been remastered for modern systems. But even like other YouTubers I watch that have done videos on the Pac-Man games, they've either not talked about these at all or have just briefly mentioned them at the end. So nobody really seems to care about these games. But so you don't really need to play the first game unless you're a huge fan of the show or something and you want to just absorb yourself in that world. But if you're wanting a somewhat fun 3D platformer with Pac-Man, and you've already played the Pac-Man World games, just pick up the second one. You don't need to know anything from the show or even the first game. You just dive into it and play through the levels. Yeah. So, half good, half bad this month. Right then, let's spin the wheel. So, of course, PlayStation game was what it landed on last month. I've removed it and replaced it with How Do I Not Own This? Which, is a category I have had come up once, and it's basically a chance for me to buy a game for my collection that I really should have owned before now. Like, the last one, when it landed on, I picked up Spyro the Dragon for the PlayStation 1. I'd not owned the original Spyro the Dragon release until a couple of months ago. Yeah, so I'm sure you understand the category now. So yeah, there's still quite a few games. It's like, why have I not got that in my collection yet? So if it lands on that, there'll be plenty of stuff I can buy for. But let's spin it and see what it does land on, and I'll have to buy for in February of 2026. And it's not quite stuck in the middle. It is leaning further to this way, and it's £5 or under. I know it says under £5, but I mean £5 or under. Shut up. I can make up the rules as I go along if I want to. It's my wheel. Yeah, so £5 or under. There are still a lot of really fun, really interesting games that you can buy for that amount of money and less these days. Especially if I was to buy some stuff off of Sex and ignore the postage costs into the price, because the postage costs are like £2.95 per item. Doesn't matter if the item costs a penny, you have to pay £2.95 postage no matter what for every single item. It is a bit of a pain in the ass, but what was I saying? Yeah, I can still buy some games under £5. I could get one, could end up with multiple. We'll see. I am planning a trip to some retro game shops in February, so you never know, I might get something in person for a change rather than online. We'll see. So, I'm bigcal. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 1 and 2 games. Let me know if there's anything in particular you think I should try and pick up for under £5. And I'll see you again next time.